Introduction. Memory. The boy sat quietly at the back of the class, his back hunched, his eyes avoiding the gaze of others. Every time the teacher called on him to read, his heart pounded like a drum in his chest. He was not good. He was not loved. He was often teased for his mispronunciation, for his old shirt and torn shoes. One time the boy asked his mother, "Is there anything special about me?" She looked at him and gently replied, "Yes. You are special because you don't give up." But at that time he didn't understand. He just wanted one simple thing: to be loved by someone. Transformation. First wound. At the age of 14 he was beaten right in front of the school gate. Not for causing trouble. Just because he was weaker, different, and easy to target. Adults said, "Don't worry, they're just joking." The teacher said, "Be strong." But no one stood up to protect him. That night, he curled up, holding his aching stomach, tears streaming down his face but not daring to sob out loud. He began to understand. In this life there will be times when he has to stand alone. Turning point. Old book. One day in the school library he happened to pick up an old, worn-out book, Letters of Seneca. The first page read, "No one can hurt you unless you let them." The words were simple. But for a boy who always waited for others to save him, it was like a slap in the face. For the first time he thought, if no one stands by me, why don't I be the first one to stand firm? The journey begins, no audience needed. From that day on he started waking up early, jogging, focusing on studying, practicing reading aloud in front of the mirror to correct his pronunciation. No one cheered. No one cared. Friends still teased. Teachers still sighed every time he made a mistake. But this time he didn't do it for recognition. He did it because he was building himself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do the right thing because it's the right thing, not because anyone sees it." The years without a sound. During his 3 years of high school he didn't stand out. He wasn't chosen as class president. He didn't get any certificates. But there was something quietly growing inside him. Inner strength. A will that no one saw. A principle of life that is not shaken by compliments or looks of ridicule. He no longer lives to be pitied. He no longer feels weak because of lack of attention. He begins to feel a kind of dignity, without needing anyone to acknowledge it. The fork in the line, the hardest choice. At the age of 18 he stood between two paths. One was to accept a scholarship in a major that was easy to find a job, as advised by his parents. The other was to study psychology, something he was truly passionate about, to understand himself and help people who were once weak like him. He chose the second path. No one understood. Some people even said, "You are not suitable. Who would listen to someone like you?" He smiled. Because now he did not need anyone's permission to walk. Growing up, silent actions. In college you study day and night. Not to prove anything but to truly be valuable. Outside of school you volunteer at a center for abused children. No one films. No social media posts. Just afternoons sitting and listening to a child tell a story. And you tell him the words that saved you. You're not weak. You're learning to stand up. Results, not luck. At the age of 27, he, now a young psychologist, was invited to speak at a large conference. Hundreds of people sat below. He recounted his childhood of being bullied, the pain no one saw, and the journey of quietly building himself. No one knew how many nights he spent studying alone. How many times he was rejected. How many times he wondered if he should give up. A person in the crowd stood up and asked, "How do you cope when no one believes in you?" He replied, his eyes steady, "Because I don't live to be pitied. I live to be a role model." Master yourself. Stoic philosophy. Stoic philosophy teaches that you can't control your circumstances, but you can control how you react. You can't choose who loves you, but you can choose how you build yourself. You are no longer the boy who longs for sympathetic eyes. You become the person others look to, not for comfort, but to learn how to stand firm. Conclusion. A message to the reader. If you are feeling lonely, if you have ever been left behind, if you are wondering if trying is worth it, remember, you don't live to be pitied. You don't need an audience to be valuable. And you don't need permission to start. You live to be someone others can believe. If they can do it, I can do it too. That's how you become a role model, silently, through actions over the years. And that is nobler than any look of pity.